Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday to each and every one of you. God bless you on today. And I wanted to bring various news stories to you, and I'll be doing that throughout this afternoon. However, I want to talk with you about this judge. Now, this is a judge that is out of New York, and we keep hearing things about judges in New York. And we know there's a judge that we know didn't do the right thing recently, last year in New York, right? So here we have this judge. He's in hot water. He's in some hot water because he was out here bragging about pulling a gun on a black man who appeared in front of him in court. Now, on Thursday, which was last Thursday, the state's Judicial Conduct Commission ruled that Judge Robert J. Putorti be removed from his position after pulling out a semi-automatic handgun on a black defendant in the Whitehall Town Court in Washington County. After the incident, he bragged about it to his colleagues and friends for years. Now, here's a judge. Now, he took an oath, right? And here he is pulling out a gun on a defendant in the courtroom. And how do you do that? Where do they do that at? But they did it, right? Where do they do it at? In New York. In a New York courtroom is where they do it at. According to Syracuse.com, the incident happened in late 2015 or 2016, early 2016 or late 2015, but wasn't investigated until Putorti boasted about it. He boasted about his actions during a judge's conference and then later to his supervising judge. So he just thought he was all that. He just got beside himself. And he decided to talk about it in a conference. Now, in a conference, if you're talking about things, most of the time people can hear you in a conference, right? Because there's a lot of people usually in a conference. Then he went on to talk about it to his supervising judge. Now, I'll be doggone that he went and discussed it with his supervising judge. Now, Putorti, who was the presiding judge over the case at the time, agreed to a plea deal after the defendant admitted to attacking his wife and another man with a knife. Okay, the defendant, he agreed to a plea deal. And we've talked about them plea deals also when it comes to black people, but okay. Now, Putorti also agreed to reduce the defendant's fine to meet an amount the defendant could pay. That's very noble of you, Judge Putorti. Very noble. But at a late court appearance, Putorti pulled out his legal handgun and pointed it at the defendant after he allegedly, now it doesn't say that he did it and there's receipts or proof, it says allegedly crossed the stop line in front of the judge's bench. Now, there's like a line that you're not supposed to cross, and they're supposed to be the deputies or the guards in the courtroom, right? How come the guard just didn't say, sir, step back? Or start to approach them like they normally approach you. If you're doing something in the court that you should be doing, they will approach you. They will say something to you. But he pulled out his gun instead. The incident was largely forgotten about, but I'm sure that defendant didn't forget about it. He probably just didn't know what to do, and he might have been afraid to do anything, to bring it up, because that's what usually happens. And he might have thought, oh, he reduced my, fine, so, I should just be grateful and thankful. We should be grateful and thankful when we do get, reduced fines and sentences. But, let me say but, we should not be allowing people to continue to violate our constitutional rights, regardless of what sentence or fine that's being reduced. You know why? Because it's within your rights, and it is part of the judge's within the law for the judge to you know, if it's within the law, the judge can reduce your fine. They can reduce your sentencing. They can do all of that within the law and the guidelines, right? But that still doesn't mean that your constitutional rights should be violated because they, you know, found leniency with you. And this is what, you know, I'm reading this and I'm like, huh? You pull out a gun, and this man might have been thinking, you know, he gave me leniency, but no. See, this is what I mean. We need to value ourselves and we need to speak up. Now, even if I plead to a crime or a criminal offense, you still don't get to pull a gun on me in the courtroom as a judge and think that's okay. And then you go around and brag about it. And so he went around bragging about it. But Putorti, he couldn't leave it alone. He couldn't leave it be, running his mouth. He later told his cousin. Now, his cousin was a college journalism student, and he bragged to his colleagues at a judges' conference in 2018. Putorti also lied to his colleagues. He lied, yes, told untruths. You know, we've heard a lot of lies lately. And it gets to be very disheartening and disappointing and frustrating when we keep hearing a lot of lies, right? And we've been hearing a lot of lies, and we're tired of it. So, he claimed that he feared for his life because of the size of the defendant. You know, we've heard that before. I feared for my life. There was a gun on the nightstand, and, you know, I was scared, and I didn't know what to do, and I was cold. You know, we're tired of it. So anyway, he lied. Let's get into this. The judge described the defendant as a 6'9" large black man. Why did it have to be a large black man? Because if you look at the picture of this judge right here, check this out. This judge, check him out. What does he look like? He looked kind of large, doesn't he? But the commission found that the defendant was only 6 feet tall and 165 pounds. That's what he found. Now, the state commission voted 11-1 to recommend that Putorti be removed from office, stating that his actions showed racial bias and that he had never shown any remorse for what he did. He didn't show no remorse, people. So he was ordered to be removed after pulling a gun on a black man in court because he bragged about it to colleagues and friends for years. So a courtroom is no place for a judge to brandish or point a gun at a litigant, said a member of the commission. It sure isn't. You are a judge. You was in the line of duty, doing your job, and pulled out a gun. Now, the commissioner, Administrator Robert H. Tembekian, also had some harsh words for Judge Putorti. You know, it's about time folks is being held accountable for their actions. So let me read to you what the commissioner administrator said. But for the fact that it happened in this case, it would otherwise be unfathomable for a judge to brandish a weapon in court without provocation or justification, he said. To then brag about it repeatedly with irrelevant racial remarks is utterly indefensible and inimical to the role of a judge. Yep, bragged about it. Made racial remarks. Now, they don't tell us what the racial remarks was, but you know, saying it was a big black man, that's a racial undertone. Now, the order for the removal is binding unless the state's high court reverses the commission's vote, and his term will expire. Putorti's current term, will expire in 2025. Now, it should not be reversed, because this is no excuse for a judge to behave in such a savage manner and then go around laughing, mocking, bragging about it. He don't need to be on the bench. And he lied, saying he feared for his life. And he actually looked like he weighed more than 165 pounds. Now, do you think he would have did that if it was a white defendant that accidentally stepped up over the line or whatever? Do you think so? Leave your comments below. But however, This judge deserves to be punished, and he should never be allowed to sit back in that seat behind, his bench. He shouldn't be able to do that, because that's a doggone shame that this judge did that. And they need to hold some more judges accountable. Some more judges they need to hold accountable. And one specific judge they need to hold accountable. They need to look at her cases. Yes, one specific judge. But anyway, you all leave your comments below. Leave your respectful comments below. And thank you for tuning in. And we shall be on to the next one. Copy.